please ensure that you have read and understood all instructions on the screen before undertaking this job. Start by parking the vehicle on flat, level ground with the handbrake applied. Turn the vehicle off and ensure both front and rear wheels are suitably chocked and the vehicle is safely secured before proceeding. G'day guys, today we're going to be doing the install of a set of our 2.0 remote reservoir struts to the front of an IFS vehicle. These steps can be taken on most IFS vehicles, although this vehicle here is a PX3 Ranger. First things first, we're going to be removing the front wheels to obviously gain access to the front wheel arch where the front suspension system is. We can then start by disconnecting any sway bar links, brake lines and ABS wires from the outer spindle or upright of the suspension. Now we can begin by separating the upper control arm from the spindle or outer upright of the suspension, and this can be done using the means shown next.
So common practice of splitting your ball joint is using a ball joint splitter. Sometimes, like on these PX3 Rangers, they've actually got an extension off the bottom of your main ball joint here that stops these from fitting up. What you can do is using a hammer, you can smack the side of your casting here. You must hit this casting specifically. That'll shock that ball joint and get it to loosen up like you can see there. And that's where it's nice and split. And then when you can remove that nut, it's nice and easy to remove that arm.
Bushes of the upper control arm may be bound up and cause a bit of ricochet like you see in the next section. This can be avoided by loosening the inner bolt of those upper arms. Before removing the strut, we want to add a jack stand in underneath the lower control arm of the vehicle. This way the arm will not fall away when the strut is removed and cause any damage to steering arms or CV joints and such. Once the jack stand is underneath the lower control arm, we can begin by removing the lower strut bolt from the strut that's connecting it to the lower control arm, and then move to the top of the strut and remove the 3 bolts connecting it to the chassis. Now you can begin removing the strut from both mounts. Once this is done, you can set this shock aside. We can begin installing the strut by locating the 3 upper strut bolts and installing the nuts to the top of these, just finger tight to avoid the strut falling away. Then we can use the jack stand to raise the lower control arm up to the bottom of the strut so the lower bolt can be installed as well. Once the lower strut bolt is installed, we can then reattach the upper control arm to the outer spindle and begin tightening all bolts, making sure we're using 262 Loctite on any threads. These bolts will be torqued up to the specifications shown in the OEM service manual. Now everything is installed and tightened back up, we can move to the next video that is specific to your model and how to route the res lines for the specific Superior Engineering reservoir mounts.